Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm Tim Smith with Center of Life, and we are celebrating Black History Month. And we are interviewing people that you have no idea that they're much closer to you than you think. They have made history in the past, and they continue to make history up to this day. And today we're here with the pastor Lamont Shields and his wife, Queen. I call her Queen Mary, the Queen Mary Shields. And Lamont Mary Shields, their story is unique in itself. They've done so much in their lives, and they've touched so many lives. But you know, the beginning of their story is the piece that we wanted to get a good handle on, because it's the beginning of their story that really makes so much of the rest of their story super significant. They are two people that are super gifted. Mary is a composer, songwriter, musician, teacher, speaks 7 languages fluently, all those things. But we're talking more about her as a musician and as a songwriter and a composer who wrote many songs for Lamont here to sing. And Lamont, his voice is just as good as it was 40, 50 years ago. So you have to hear him sing. So what I want to do is I'd like us to just kind of start off talking a little bit about how you all met, kind of how you came up in church, and we'll go from there.
Well, this year we'll be celebrating 60 years of marriage. And our background, both of our fathers were ministers and pastors, and both of our mothers were singers. Right. And we're both the youngest, believe it or not, of 9 siblings in each family. So, we grew up in church. Yeah. Even though we had opportunities to do explore other fields, but our calling was gospel music. Yeah. So that's what we've been doing all of our lives. Yeah.
And you were talking about where we met.
Yeah, how you met.
We met our mother church for the state of Western Pennsylvania. It was at that time 35 Miller Street, and everybody gathered at 35 Miller Street, and that's where we met. One night we met at 35 Miller Street, and the rest is history.
I met a lot of girls at 35
Miller Street.
Yeah. We'll leave that alone.
Yeah, well, yeah, he met a lot of girls, but I was the one that
That's right. I love it. That's right.
We had a nice time back then. There was a lot of people there, a lot of young people.
Right.
And we had wonderful times. We had large choirs and a lot of talented young people back then. We enjoyed church. The balconies were filled with people. We were hanging over the balconies. There were so many people there in the meetings during those days. Yeah. And we want to get back to that. We want to get our young people more involved with the church because there's so many temptations out there, and Satan makes everything look attractive, but they fail to see that they're losing their souls by worldly pleasures. So.
Well, hey, speaking of temptations, let's talk a little bit about a little bit about the temptation that you guys had many moons ago,
huh? That's right. Well, I began writing music early in our marriage. And what we did was we combined the church I came from in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, Christ Temple Church of God in Christ. They had a wonderful choir. My mother was the directress. And we combined that particular choir with the choir at Morningside, which I joined when I married Lamont. God started writing music through me, and we decided to join those 2 choirs and make one big choir out of it, which we call the Marymount Singers. Um, Lamont's father, uh, his wife, was related to the private secretary of Berry Gordy. And she knew that I wrote music. And she knew we were trying to move our music ahead. And so, without our even knowing it, she got in touch with her daughter and told her she wanted Berry Gordy to hear what we had. That's how we got to Motown.
Wow.
Every year at Motown, they had a church service and a private party for their sister who had was deceased. And they invited us to come to that church service and Berry Gordy's pool house. That's how we got there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little more about being at Berry Gordy's pool house.
Well, he had two mansions there in Detroit. One was the recreation, Olympic-sized pool, and bowling downstairs. It was a beautiful place. And then the other mansion was his living quarters. Between the two was an underground tunnel with polished brick and lights on both sides of the trailways there. It was just a beautiful place, beautiful place.
And all the stars' pictures were, along the walls, and they let us tour all of that. And it came time for the entertainment in the pool house, and it was set up with chairs and all that. Lamont and me sat close to the front of it, not knowing that day there was going to be an audition.
Mm.
And the audition was for the Jackson 5. So they were sitting in the front, and
So they weren't even famous
they
yet.
weren't
No,
even thought of
They were
yet.
nothing.
No, they weren't even. Diana Ross brought them there because she thought they were good,
Right.
and she wanted Berry Gordy to hear them. And so what they did when they auditioned was James Brown's music. Michael Jackson did all the little steps he knew, and everything was James Brown.
There's video of that. There is video of that
Oh, okay.
when Michael Jackson was auditioning for
Okay.
Berry Gordy.
Yes.
There's video of him dancing
Yep.
Yeah,
and doing
that's right.
that.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. And the next time we saw Michael Jackson was on the Ed Sullivan. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Okay. Yeah.
But right there is where we met all the stars: Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, Smokey, Robinson,
Mhm.
and all the stars there. They were all there, and we were elated, but we were around everybody.
Yeah.
And we met everybody. They met us, and it just became a family. And
It was very exciting because our main purpose was for someone to hear what we had.
Right.
And we talked to Berry Gordy's brother, George, and of course Berry Gordy sent us to George and said, go talk to him about what you have. And we talked to him about the music that we had to offer. And at that point, that's as far as it went. They kept a record that we made. We came home and just started living our normal life. And one day we were in the kitchen having dinner and the phone rang. And it was from Motown. And they told us, we listened to your music. There's one song we love. We want it. And we were just so excited.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one thing.
Do you remember which song that was?
Mm-hmm.
Which one was it?
Well, no one has ever heard it, but it was Jesus Is Mine.
Okay.
That's what it was
Okay.
called. Jesus
Okay.
Is Mine. And so they said, we'd like you to come back up and we were going to talk to you about this song. So we were, like I said, we were elated, but then they said, there's only one thing we need you to do. And I said, what? They said, well, you know where you have where you have Jesus, Jesus is mine. we just want to switch that over to baby is
Oh.
mine.
Get rid of Jesus.
Yeah,
Get rid of Jesus.
She said,
And
what?
I said, what?
How you going to get rid of Jesus?
Can't do that.
That's where the money is, brother.
Yeah, and that's exactly
That's
what
what I
he
said.
said.
We just want to make you rich.
We just want to. He said, "You just want to make $1 million. We're gonna let you make $1 million by just changing the name." And we said, "No, we can't do that. That was our convictions would not let us do that."
Wow.
So we said, "Well, just send us our record back," which he never did.
He never sent it back. Wow. Did you
But-
hear that song at all?
Yes, we heard
You
part
heard
of
it.
it.
Okay, okay.
In other songs
future
that they
songs,
did.
yes.
Amazing.
Isn't that amazing? But
That
that's
is
how it all
something.
started.
Wow. Well,
That's how it all
you
started.
also had another experience with Duke Ellington. Tell us about that.
We were sitting in a restaurant in
You
New
were in New
York.
Yeah.
And Duke Ellington walked in. I think he was going over to confectionery. He was going to get a sandwich or something. And I asked Mary, I said, "Do you know who that is?" And she said, "No." I said, "That's Duke Ellington." "What?"
Again, I was
So I
scared to
said-
death.
I said, "I'm going over and invite him." And I went over there. I said, "Mr. Ellington, my name is Lamont Shields. I'm here with my wife, Mary Shields. We're from Pittsburgh. We'd sure like for you to hear the song we have." He said, "Well, go back to your table. We'll be over." And I said, "Okay." You know, I thought it would be over. He was just getting rid of me, you know. And sure enough, he comes over to our table. And it was a jukebox. It was playing real loud and everything. And he says, "Okay, bang on the table. Let me hear what you have." So we start doing that. And we're saying, he says, "Okay, meet me at the top of the RCA building first thing in the morning."
Oh,
Yes, he did.
So we were so anxious to get back to see our kids, you know, because we left them with their
Green.
the grandmother. And
Oh, my goodness.
we told Mary's mother we'd be back at a certain time. And so we did not, we stood him up.
Stood him up. Yeah, and he said, and I mean, he told us, he said, "I want you to come tomorrow morning because I'm going to do a gospel concert."
Yeah.
And he said, "I have a new soloist and she needs music. And so come over there tomorrow and let me hear some of the stuff you have." And we didn't have any money, number one. We were poor. We didn't have any money. We just went there hoping somebody would, you know, recognize us or do something with us. But we didn't have the money to stay. So, and we were too ashamed to tell him that we can't afford to stay here another day. He probably would have put us up. But we ended up coming home.
So
And
you
the next time we saw him, he was on a show, and there was this huge choir,
Yeah.
and they were singing the songs that somebody else obviously
Wow.
wrote.
Wow.
So that was our experience. with
Was that
Duke.
before he did the Come Sunday tune? He did that whole album, the Come Sunday album.
I'm sure
That
that
was
was
it.
what he was
And he was
trying to get
probably looking
together.
for
He was
materials
looking
for
for
that.
material for that,
Yes.
exactly.
Wow.
And then he went off to Europe.
That's amazing. So you all stood up Duke Ellington for Tammy and Linda.
Yes, we
For our
did.
kids, that's right.
Tammy
Right.
and Linda.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? You could have been millionaires.
Family comes first.
Yeah, wow.
Responsibility comes first.
How hard was that? How hard was it in both situations, like with Barry Gordy and with Duke Ellington, knowing that you were that close? You know, because see, I had the pleasure of knowing you all back in those days, in
Oh,
some of
yes.
those days.
Right.
And so I knew that you all colored outside the lines. Like y'all
Right.
weren't all together with the, you know,
That's right.
you know, you weren't like a lot of the other folks that were, you know, in the church. So,
Yes.
Yeah, as a
so
matter
you
of fact,
know,
they kinda
and
put
that's
us
what
out.
attracted me to you all, because I felt like, you know, you all understood me as a young person. You know, you understood me, and we were kind of on the same track, and I enjoyed
Right.
playing with you all.
Mhm.
Yes.
But how hard was that, you know, to say no to that, knowing that, you know, it could have just changed your life?
It wasn't that hard for me because we knew our values. We knew what was most important to us at the time. And just the idea of putting something ahead of Jesus Christ and putting something ahead of our family, being responsible for our kids, that was priority in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't regret it. You know, because even though there's a lot of wealth out there, it doesn't necessarily mean you're happy.
Right.
Because you see a lot of misfortunes going on with people that have more money than they can spend.
Yeah.
But their lives are a mess, you know. Not in all cases, of course, but we didn't know that, you know. We did what we thought was best for us.
Yeah.
And I think I probably wanted it more than Monty because what I wanted, it wasn't even for me. I knew what kind of singer he was.
Right.
And I knew that everyone loved hearing him.
Yeah.
But he had never been given the chance to get out there and let the world see.
Yeah.
And so when God started giving music to me, I felt like he was giving me that music to push him. And and so I think I probably wanted it more than him, even though I would never have crossed over. I just could never do that.
Yeah.
But then God started giving us ways to minister right in the city of Pittsburgh.
Well, we're going to talk about that, but I want to ask this question. If you had to do all over again, and you could just push one song, make that first million, and then quit and get back to the church, would you do it?
No.
Oh,
No,
man.
I wouldn't do
No.
it either.
Well,
Not
because
for
you
my-
could have helped me.
Yeah. Maybe we would have given the song to you and
We
let
are-
you do
I was
it.
We
broke.
are
Let you
helping
go to hell.
you. We are helping you.
No,
I'm kidding.
I believe that. I believe you wouldn't. I know the feeling. I know the
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
I'm sure you do. Yeah,
know
you're
it's
talented yourself.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Wow. So tell us now. So now you transition sort of from those two really major opportunities. You began to create other opportunities that were more engaged in sort of the church or the gospel world or the Christian world. Can you talk a little bit about that? How you got inspired to do that?
Well, one thing the Lord put on our hearts to open up a gospel supper club.
I remember that.
And we ran that for about 15 years. And it was an opportunity for all gospel singers, all gospel musicians to come and minister. And our hours of being open was it cooperated with the hours that we normally had church services. In other words, we had these services after the normal church hours. And we would have 200-300 people there on the weekends, each night on the weekends. And we used all of our talents from across the country would come there and minister. So,
And we called it the Back Home Hour because in the Church of God in Christ, in our national conventions and international conventions, that's what they did. After services were over every night, you could go to any Church of God in Christ around whatever city, or usually Memphis, and have church. They have church all night.
Yeah.
And so when we got the idea to have a gospel supper club, a place for people to come after church, young people to come and enjoy themselves, we said, oh, let's call it the Back Home Hour. Most people didn't even know what we were talking about. But that's what we did.
And that was after the Carnegie Music Hall, right?
yes.
Because Carnegie Music Hall, I think you should talk a little bit about the Carnegie Music Hall because that was huge. That was historic.
Yeah.
You know,
Boy.
nobody had ever done that. Nobody in this city had ever done that before.
Well, number one, we did one more thing that no one had ever done before. Once we came back from Motown and wanted to figure out something we could do, Lamont, you can get pretty discouraged in our church.
Yeah.
And with the type of talent he had and what he wanted to do, and people weren't accepting it in Pittsburgh, especially Pentecostal people. They were like putting us down, way down.
Y'all were too progressive.
Yeah, they just didn't want to hear anything we had to say. So he had stopped going to our church for a while. And he was out there looking for something. And one day, I think one of his friends found that he wasn't playing at a church, and that was Mount Ararat Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
And they asked him, if you're not doing anything, we need a musician for our gospel chorus. You think you would do it? He came home and asked me, and I wanted him in church.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, sure, we can do that.
Just put him in church.
Yeah, let's get him in church. And so we started directing that choir, and that was something new.
Yeah.
Because no Pentecostal person would be in a
There
Baptist.
was no crossover stuff going on.
No. They really put us down then. But we started working with them. People started hearing about it. Lord gave us the idea to do a big concert with across denominations. So
yeah.
people were
Yeah.
coming to rehearsals from everywhere. It just shocked us.
Yeah.
And then we decided to do the Carnegie Music Hall thing with my music.
Yeah.
So that's how that came about.
That was
Lord
that was
blessed.
that was an amazing album, that you all
Yeah.
put together.
Thank God.
And concert.
And a lot of people came to the Lord, in the Gospel Supper Club and the concert at Carnegie Music Hall. We won, the Lord blessed us with souls that gave their lives to Jesus Christ. So we'll never regret that.
Yeah. Yeah.
God has different ways of blessing us and using us, and it's not all about money all the time.
That's right.
It was fun,
That's
too.
right.
It was fun. It was fun seeing young people come together and have a good time. There were people that would go to their church. We would have rehearsals on Saturday afternoon at Mount Ararat, and some of the young people wanted to be a part of the choir. So they would sneak over to Mount Ararat to be in the choir.
Yeah.
And when their preacher, their leaders found out, we got a call. What are you doing? What do you think you're doing with our young people?
Wow.
So we're not doing anything. We're just having rehearsals and trying.
For everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really different.
That's something.
But yeah.
But you all were groundbreakers. You were breaking ground. I know that's how we saw you. When I was coming up as a young musician, we saw you all as the Andre Crouch and Sandra Crouch of Pittsburgh,
How about that?
and we kind of looked to you all as the template. So it's nice to hear how you came from one place, how you escaped the sort of, I don't know what we call Sin City, so to speak, and you came into a place where you're still able to help just hundreds of thousands of people with the work and your music and everything. I just want to talk about one more thing before we finish, and that's the song that you really, so many people have asked you to sing that you arranged, Mary, Deep River. It just blew me away. I mean, I heard the original. I had never heard the original until a while ago, and when I heard it, I said, "Man, this is powerful."
Praise the Lord.
And a lot of people have done Deep River, but not like that. Not like that. Like your arrangement was just incredible.
Thank God. Thank God.
So tell us a little bit of background of that, how that happened, and because you sang it at the Carnegie Music Hall.
Yes.
Was that the closer?
Probably was. I don't
Okay.
know. It probably
I mean,
was.
it went crazy. The
Yeah.
crowd went crazy when that
Yeah.
song was over. It was like that was the end of everything.
Yes.
It was just that, that song, he used to sing it just as a regular song. And, everywhere he'd go,
Yes.
they would ask, well, sing Deep River, sing
Yeah.
Deep River,
Yeah.
but never that arrangement.
Yeah.
So when we put the choir together, that's when God gave me the arrangement. And so, yeah, it was big.
It was huge.
Yeah, another time we met a famous person that was in the other world. We met Roberta Flack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we went to. We have friends who are related to her, which we didn't know, and they invited us to go with them to Heinz Hall or wherever she was, and we went. And I went to her and I asked her. I said, "Could I talk to you? Because I write music." She says, "Come backstage." So we went backstage, and I told her, you know, that I write music, and she said, "Send me all your good stuff. Send me all your good stuff."
Uh-oh.
I didn't send her one song. I mean, it was the same. I just had this pattern. I just freeze up.
Well, you don't send everybody all your good stuff
Yeah,
anyway.
well, that's true.
So,
Right.
Well, I didn't send her anything, so,
wow.
you know, she was another person that we really did meet, and probably could have done something with her, but didn't.
So we're celebrating Black History Month, and it took, you know, we're interviewing you all because it took a lot of courage for you all to do what you did back in those days when it was as difficult as it could be for Black people to be able to make it and to earn money. You walked away from millions of dollars, opportunities to travel the world,
Yes.
and you know, fame and fortune, to do the work that you have done over these years, you know. And so it took a lot of courage, and so I guess I would ask you to kind of close with just telling us what you would, kind of advice you would give to young people today that are really, you know, trying to make it in the music industry or trying to make it in any kind of industry, you know. What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I appreciate their talents. We have so many young people that have beautiful talents. I think the most important thing is for them to keep Jesus first. Let Him lead you. Let Him guide you through all the temptations, the worldly temptations, and just be real. You know, there's so many different styles, and if you didn't hit this chord, then you're not with it, or if you don't hit this rhythm, you're not with it. And things like that. The most important thing is to save your soul, and God will use you the way He wants to use you. That's one of the things that's really on my heart, to see young people just be real with the Lord, because He has to plan for your life. You know, we can be rich and everything, like I said before, but you know, when we compromise with Satan, don't compromise with the devil. That's the problem with the world today, and it's easy to see how down we're going. We're going the wrong direction. You know, there's more killings going on. There's more robberies going on. So we don't have to be part of that. You know, let's stand for what is right, and God will bless you. He'll give you. He has to plan for our lives. You know, and we're to do the best we can, but the ultimate goal is to let Jesus Christ lead you.
Yeah, and I understand when people have talent and they want to display their talent, and they need a place in order to show others what they can do. And so I don't think they should shy away from their talent. I believe that you can exhibit your talent and you can still serve God. And I believe if you do that, He will take you to places you never thought you would go. They may not be places where you earn a lot of money, but as we're doing this today, there's people out there who remember us for what we did and for what we didn't do. And I think it's time for our young people to stand up and be aggressive about what they believe.
Be accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of what's happening today. Young people are becoming more and more aggressive about what they believe.
Yes.
Things are changing for people of color all over the country.
Right.
And so, hey, why don't we just close with this quick call and response from James Brown. Say it loud.
Oh, yeah. I'm.
Black and I'm proud.
Say it again.
Oh, yeah.
Say it loud.
Say it loud.
Black and I'm proud.
Black and
I'm black
I'm
and I'm proud. That's it.
Amen.
That's it. That's it.